Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. My face can't be made out very well, but this is a great view, so maybe you guys can focus on something that's worth looking at. My name is Ines. Welcome to another video. Today, I wanted to reflect on some of the experiences that I had in New York and present these experiences through a line in the preface of my new book. And the line is this: the book is about my authentic search for myself. It's a recollection of my experiences across a period of a long time about, the journey of seeking self, the journey of authenticity, the journey of, being anxious and diving into the inner world to try to discover what it is that one's true face looks like, right? And kind of all the fear that's accompanied with that journey. And in my preface, I write, these are my experiences, but they are not only mine. I came to New York now 2 years after the last time I'd been here. The last time I came here, I gave these talks at Washington Square Park about Judaism and Zionism, and I talked to so many people. But I remember being so disheartened back then about the experience. I remember feeling so devastated about the inability to communicate, the inability to share my thoughts and ideas with other people. And this time I came back, and it felt like a symbolic return. It felt like 2 years coming full circle, me going back to the place that I had left 2 years ago on this enormous journey, coming back to the beginning. And it's so crazy because this time my journey was my experience here was so different than before. When I got to New York a couple of years ago, even though that communication experience was not so good, the city was still full of this life and energy and vitality. I could walk around and just feel imbued with life. But this time, it wasn't like that. And I've had that experience before in life. I've had that experience a number of times in life now. The feeling that the place that I had once felt had so much meaning in it. When I arrived there again after this inner journey, it no longer had that inner meaning. And I realize now why that is. It's because the meaning that I gave places externally was always from within. The source of it was always me. And so I was locating the source externally. And as I've been working on locating the source internally, the external world is less, you could say, magical, but I could see people more clearly. And I think this is kind of the theme of a lot of philosophy, really, in truth, and spirituality, to see others clearly. And to see others clearly means seeing yourself clearly. And there's many obstacles to seeing oneself clearly, most dominantly of them being yourself, right? And this time I came to New York and I decided I want to just talk to people about things that mean something to me. I want to talk to people about philosophy, about art, about these deeper ideas. I want to have deep conversations with people. And I sat down at Washington Square Park, as I had done before, but this time with a whiteboard that said, want to talk philosophy. And I sat down and I spoke philosophy with people, and I met so many different people in different walks of life, different, ways of engaging with me. Some people were kind of hostile, some people were very positive, and I just had so many radically different experiences. But in all of them, I was able to learn more about the human condition and the human experience. And I think the way that one learns more about the human condition and human experience is being open to listening to other people. Today, I don't want to say any names, someone I met at the gym, at the sauna, who took a liking to me, I suppose. And so we met later and we spoke. And some of the things this gentleman told me about his life, it felt like word for word, in a different way, of course, I had remarked and I'd spoken about in the same exact way. And of course, not only him, but so many other people, I could see different elements of myself reflected. One of the themes of the modern day is authenticity. It seems we're all seeking to find ourselves, discover ourselves, become who it is we feel ourselves to be. In this world outside, this grand vista of beautiful and massive buildings, all these things we could pursue, the money, the glory, the beauty, the fame, it seems like there's a dominant theme that's arriving at the point that the real meaning in life is internal. The real meaning in life is in being who you are, is in going inward. But at the same time, as I navigate and walk through New York, I see so much of what people call authenticity is just another fad, another way of conforming, just something to put on. And it felt to me that my experience of trying to become authentic was radically different than what it seems to be for other people. Now, of course, this isn't necessarily true, but it is true in the sense that even something that is meant to be for non-conformity, anti-conforming, can itself be conformed to. People can put on the clothing of anti-clothing, as it were. But in this theme of authenticity, in this theme of seeking to become who one is and seeking to see one's own face, I came to New York and I saw all these people disconnected, fragmented, walking this way and that way, not exploring, but pursuing this and pursuing that. I was actually incredibly overwhelmed for a few days and overstimulated. And I just kind of was relegated to just staying inside for a little bit. And part of the reason for that was just that this life, this world here is so fast paced. It's so rapid. Everything's moving. It's even, you might think it'd be good for me considering how quick I speak and how many thoughts are running through my head. But, coupling those two things together got me overwhelmed very quickly. But in the midst of the fragmentation and disconnection I saw around me, I had a unique thought earlier today. As I went out to Washington Square Park and I spoke to people, and I'd done that for a number of days, and I'd gone back and forth in the city, felt overwhelmed, questioned myself. What am I really doing? Am I really connecting with people? What is the point of all of this? I began to really think about my own ideas in the context of the external and the internal. I say it often that the external world is a reflection of the inner world, that the source of what we see externally is within. And I thought to myself, perhaps it might just be that the disconnection and fragmentation I see in the world around me is a reflection of the disconnection and fragmentation within myself. And that's a deep thought. And I talked to someone about it earlier today. Someone I met, I spoke to him for about an hour, and it was a fantastic conversation. But back to the beginning line, one of the lines of my preface. These experiences are mine, but they are not only mine. I think the same is true for most of us. I think often we feel very alone, alienated, isolated in our experiences. And we think that no one can really understand us. No one can experience what we're experiencing. And there's definitely truth to that. One person I spoke to earlier today, a bartender, they said something like, I envy the fact that others will be able to experience me and I will never be able to experience their experience of me. It's quite a virtuous envy to have. It's quite a virtuous envy to have. But as I talk to more people and I engage more with others, after engaging in these deep inner projects of understanding my mind, understanding the inner labyrinth, understanding my own isolation, alienation, my fragmentation in this world and these people, among these people who are really just like me, seeking the same thing. The masks and the covers that people have on their faces increasingly begin to vanish as one looks at the world in this way. The Greeks had this concept of the person called, I think it was personon. The Romans had persona, and the idea was that everyone was just a vehicle for the universal. Everyone just had a mask on, and that mask was a small disconnection between that individual and the totality of all reality, the universality that is etched into the walls of all things. And that life was just a temporary interim between, being one with that source and returning to it. But as I look to the world around me today, that understanding is clearly very lost in myself as well. But as I talk to more people, as I engage with myself, as I remark on the line I wrote in my own preface, these are my experiences, but they are not only mine. I come to see that perhaps the same is true for all of us. Thank you for watching.